This is the story of Jamie Ivancic, a young woman whose life was tragically cut short. She was a vibrant soul, full of life and dreams, with a loving family and a bright future ahead of her. But behind the smiles and the picture-perfect facade, a darkness was lurking. A secret that would lead to unimaginable heartbreak and shatter the lives of those she held dear. This is also the story of Shelby Nealy, a man whose deception and violence would leave a trail of grief and unanswered questions in their wake. On New Year's Day, 2019, a gruesome discovery would shock the quiet community of Tarpon Springs, Florida. The Ivancic family, Richard, Laura, and Nicholas, were found murdered in their home. But this chilling tale of betrayal and bloodshed begins much earlier, with the disappearance of Jamie, almost a year before. Jamie Ivancic was a beacon of light in her community. She was known for her infectious laughter, her kind heart, and her unwavering dedication to her family and friends. She fell in love with Shelby Nealy, a charming and charismatic young man, and together they built a life that seemed, from the outside, to be filled with happiness and promise. They had 2 beautiful children, a home in a quiet neighborhood, and a network of supportive friends and family. But beneath the surface, their relationship was far from perfect. Behind closed doors, arguments flared, and tensions simmered. There were whispers of control, isolation, and abuse. Jamie confided in her closest friends about her fears, sharing stories of Shelby's possessiveness, his quick temper, and his tendency to isolate her from her loved ones. She spoke of feeling trapped, of walking on eggshells, of fearing for her safety and the safety of her children. But even those closest to her couldn't have predicted the horror that was to come. In the fall of 2017, Jamie and Shelby's relationship reached a breaking point. The arguments grew more frequent and intense. The tension in their home became unbearable. Jamie, a woman of strength and resilience, decided she had had enough. She separated from Shelby and filed for divorce, determined to create a better life for herself and her children, free from the turmoil that had plagued their relationship. But Shelby was not ready to let go. He clung to the hope of reconciliation, bombarding Jamie with pleas and promises, while secretly harboring a growing resentment towards her and her family. He saw them as obstacles, as people who were trying to take Jamie away from him. And as his anger festered, a dark plan began to form in his mind. In January of 2018, Jamie Ivancic vanished. One day she was there, a vibrant presence in the lives of her loved ones, and the next she was gone, leaving behind a void that would never be filled. Shelby, however, maintained contact with her family, using her phone to send messages, pretending she was still alive. He spun a web of lies, weaving a tale of a woman who had abandoned her family and run off with another man. He claimed that she was traveling, that she needed time to herself, that she would eventually return. He even sent photos of their children, carefully staged to create the illusion that Jamie was still present in their lives, that she was happy and healthy. But Jamie's family wasn't convinced. Months passed and their suspicions grew. They hadn't heard her voice, only seen text messages. They noticed inconsistencies in Shelby's stories, and they sensed a darkness behind his forced smiles and reassuring words. Something wasn't right. Their concern turned to dread when, on New Year's Day 2019, they went to check on the Ivancics and discovered a horrific scene. The front door was ajar, a sense of unease hanging heavy in the air. Inside, a scene of unimaginable violence awaited them. Richard, Laura, and Nicholas Ivancic were found dead in their home. They had been brutally murdered. The community was in shock. Where was Jamie? And who was responsible for this senseless act of violence? The investigation quickly zeroed in on Shelby Nealy. He had been the last known person to see Jamie alive, and his behavior in the months following her disappearance raised numerous red flags. He had been evasive and shifty when questioned by Jamie's family, offering vague and contradictory explanations for her sudden absence. His stories about her whereabouts were inconsistent, changing with each telling, and his demeanor was marked by a nervous energy that belied his claims of innocence. When police finally caught up with him, his carefully constructed facade began to crumble under the weight of their scrutiny. He stammered, he contradicted himself, and his eyes darted nervously as the investigators pressed him for the truth. Forensic evidence solidified their suspicions, linking Nealy directly to the crime scene. His fingerprints were found throughout the Ivancic home, evidence of his presence there on that fateful night. And most damning of all, his DNA was discovered on the murder weapon, a hammer, the instrument used to brutally end the lives of Richard and Laura Ivancic. Under the intense pressure of the interrogation, with the evidence mounting against him, Shelby Nealy finally cracked. He confessed. He admitted to killing Jamie almost a year earlier, strangling her in a fit of rage and burying her body in the backyard of their home. He then confessed to the murders of Richard, Laura, and Nicholas Ivancic, detailing the horrific events of that night with a chilling detachment that sent shivers down the spines of the seasoned investigators. Nealy's confession was a chilling descent into the mind of a killer. He described in detail how he had strangled Jamie during an argument in their home, the life draining from her eyes as he tightened his grip on her throat. He spoke of the cold calculation with which he had buried her body in the backyard, covering his tracks and weaving a web of lies to conceal his heinous crime. He detailed how he had gone to the Ivancic home, driven by a potent cocktail of rage, jealousy, and a desperate desire to silence those who were getting close to the truth. He confessed to bludgeoning Richard and Laura with a hammer, their screams echoing through the house as he delivered blow after blow. He then described how he had cornered Nicholas, the young man who had come home from college full of life and promise, and stabbed him repeatedly, the life draining from his body as he pleaded for mercy. Nealy spoke of his motive, a desperate attempt to keep his secret hidden, to maintain the facade of a happy family man, a loving father, and a grieving partner. He had hoped to silence the Ivancics, to erase the threat they posed to his carefully constructed life. But his actions revealed a deep-seated darkness, a capacity for violence that shocked even seasoned investigators. As they listened to his confession, they saw not a man driven by desperation, but a cold-blooded killer who had extinguished the lives of an entire family without remorse. I know this was a heavy one, but these stories need to be told. If you're feeling it, give this video a thumbs up and share it to spread awareness. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join our true crime community. For those of you who've been here a while, you know I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. The trial of Shelby Nealy was a media spectacle, a drama that unfolded in the public eye, drawing in reporters, cameras, and curious onlookers eager to witness the proceedings. The courtroom was filled with a palpable tension, the weight of the charges hanging heavy in the air. The prosecution, armed with a meticulous case and a mountain of evidence, sought to portray Nealy as a cold-blooded killer, a man driven by a dark obsession to maintain his web of deceit at any cost. They meticulously laid out the timeline of events, highlighting Nealy's calculated actions, his lies, and his manipulation. They presented forensic evidence that linked him directly to the crime scene, the DNA, the fingerprints, the chilling remnants of his violent rampage. They painted a picture of a man consumed by his own demons, a man who would stop at nothing to keep his secrets buried, even if it meant taking the lives of those closest to him. The defense, however, countered with a different narrative. They argued that Nealy was not a monster, but a victim of circumstance, a man caught in a web of his own making. They pointed to his troubled past, a history of mental health struggles, and a vulnerability to manipulation that left him susceptible to making desperate choices. They painted a picture of a man who loved Jamie deeply, a man who was driven to his actions by a fear of losing her and his children, a fear that spiraled into a tragic and irreversible course of events. They pleaded for leniency, asking the jury to consider the mitigating factors that led him down this path of destruction, to see the human being behind the horrific crimes. The jury, faced with this complex and emotionally charged case, listened intently to both sides, weighing the evidence and the arguments. They heard from witnesses who testified to Nealy's character, his relationship with Jamie, and his behavior in the months leading up to the murders. Some spoke of his kindness and charm, while others recounted instances of his possessiveness and volatility. They saw the crime scene photos, the gruesome images that documented the brutality of the murders. They examined the forensic reports, the cold, hard facts that linked Nealy to the crimes. And they listened to his chilling confession, the words that revealed the depths of his desperation and the darkness that had consumed him. After days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Shelby Nealy was found guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a sentence that would ensure he would spend the rest of his days behind bars, paying for his heinous crimes. The murders of Jamie, Richard, Laura, and Nicholas Ivancic left a deep wound in the community of Tarpon Springs, a scar that would forever mark the hearts of those who knew and loved them. Their loss was felt by many, their absence leaving a void that could never be filled. Friends and family mourned the vibrant young woman, the loving parents, and the promising young man whose lives were cut short. They gathered to share stories of their kindness, their laughter, their unwavering love for one another, their memories a testament to the beautiful lives that had been stolen. Tears flowed freely as they remembered Jamie's infectious smile, her artistic spirit, and her dedication to her children. They spoke of Richard's unwavering strength, his love for his family, and his commitment to his community. They recalled Laura's warmth, her gentle nature, and her unwavering support for those she loved. And they shared stories of Nicholas, the young man with a bright future ahead of him, his passion for music, his love for his family, and his dreams that would never be realized. The tragedy sparked a conversation about domestic violence, mental health, and the importance of seeking help. It cast a harsh light on the dark realities that can exist behind closed doors, the silent struggles that often go unnoticed until it's too late. It highlighted the need for greater awareness and support for victims of abuse, for a society that recognizes the warning signs and offers a lifeline to those trapped in dangerous situations. Community leaders, mental health professionals, and advocates spoke out, urging people to recognize the warning signs, to break the silence, and to reach out for help before it's too late. They emphasized the importance of open communication, of creating a culture where victims feel safe to come forward and seek support. The Ivancic family's legacy lived on through the countless lives they touched, the memories they created, and the love they shared. Their story served as a reminder of the importance of cherishing every moment, of appreciating the precious gift of life, and of standing up against violence and injustice. The story of the Ivancic family is a tragedy that defies comprehension, a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary lives. It underscores the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of unchecked violence, of rage and desperation spiraling out of control. Shelby Nealy, the man responsible for this heinous act, will spend the rest of his days behind bars, forever haunted by the weight of his crimes. But true justice remains elusive for the Ivancic family. Their absence leaves an unfillable void in the hearts of those who love them, a constant ache that will linger forever. In the wake of this tragedy, let us all commit to creating a world where violence and hatred give way to compassion and understanding. A world where the seeds of empathy are sown, and the cries for help are met with open arms and unwavering support. Let us honor the memory of the Ivancic family by working towards a future where every individual feels safe, loved, and valued. A future where such senseless acts of violence become a distant memory, a chilling reminder of a past we refuse to repeat. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts and reflections on this case in the comments below. Let's engage in meaningful conversations, shed light on the complexities of human behavior, and explore the factors that contribute to such tragedies. Together we can raise awareness, foster understanding, and work towards a future free from violence. Together we can make a difference. And if you're new here, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to the channel. We delve into these complex true crime stories, exploring the psychology, the impact, and the search for justice. Hit that subscribe button and join our community of curious minds, where we seek to understand the darkest corners of human nature and shed light on the stories that often go untold. To my incredible returning subscribers, your support means everything. Thank you for being here, for your insightful comments, and for your dedication to uncovering the truth. Your presence fuels our passion for exploring these stories and for seeking justice for those whose voices have been silenced.